Welcome to the Post Status Cash Up podcast, where I'm catching up with Joe Dolson. Joe, how are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's been a little while. We
Great.
usually see each other at events. I think it's been almost a year, probably, if not a little bit longer, since I've been
Uh,
physically in the
I
same
think did
space
we
as
see
you.
each ourselves in Europe? I think we were both.
Probably ships passing in the night, though, if I was
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
guess.
Well, indeed. Yeah, fair enough.
It was a busy day, but yes, I believe that's true. We were both in Europe this year. It was nice to see you anytime we get an opportunity, and today is no exception. So today we're here to talk about WordPress Accessibility Day, WP Accessibility Day. You are, I believe, one of the founders,
I
correct, of
am.
this
Yeah.
great day. You do a lot with accessibility. I would hazard a guess that it is at least 90% of your working day is around accessibility things. And
I sometimes feel like 90% of my day is just fixing things that I've already broken. But yeah, let's call it accessibility.
mean, broken things need to be fixed, and that's all part
Right.
of accessibility, right? So it's all
Sure.
good. Um,
Totally.
so tell us a little bit about the history of WP Accessibility Day for anybody who's not aware of how it came to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So the idea was kicked off in fall of 2019,
Before the world came
when,
to an end.
yes, indeed, when the accessibility team, the WordPress accessibility team, just decided we wanted to put on some kind of event. And at that stage, we had literally no idea what it was. We threw out all sorts of ideas, just a big accessibility contributor day. And we finally settled on doing a series of talks, kind of modeled on the ID 24, which is a very similar event it's 24 hours of consecutive talks, all on not exactly on accessibility, but inclusive design, generally speaking. And it's a great event, and if it's happening very soon, and you should go to it. Um, but that was kind of the concept and how we came up with it. And we were, deep into planning all sorts of ideas. And then, March 2020 hit, and we were like, well, I'm glad we'd already decided this was going to be online.
Because the world went online for a great amount of time at that
Yes,
point.
it did. Which it was actually had a really interesting side effects for the event because as an all online event that was already in well advanced in planning, we were able to get really an amazing collection of speakers because a lot of really international speakers who talk on accessibility all the time, everywhere, suddenly had a lot more availability in their schedules than they had maybe
Yeah.
anticipated having. And so it was really an amazing conference. What it also was an incredible amount of work.
Yes.
Because the other side effect of the pandemic hitting around that time is people started to kind of drop away from the organizing team because, frankly, life happened. People
Yeah.
had kids and they needed to deal with now their kids are in school and things got really busy. And so the team
Hmm.
kind of shrunk. Uh, the team was great. Everybody who was involved did an amazing amount of work. But by the time the event actually happened, we were down to like, maybe 4 or 5 people running the whole thing.
Hmm.
And it was intense.
I believe it.
And so really the modern, quote unquote, the new WordPress Accessibility Day, the nonprofit that Bet, Amber, and I have now founded to run this organization,
Hmm.
all comes out of Amber reaching out to me after 2021 didn't happen
Hmm.
and kind of saying, I'd like to restart WordPress Accessibility Day,
Yeah.
but I don't want to do it without you. Are you interested?
Hmm.
And I had to really think about that. I didn't know Amber at all at that point. Hadn't ever
Not
talked
your
to her, never met.
besties.
And it's like we'd never met, no, we'd never talked. So we had a meeting and we talked about it. And now we're great friends because,
Yeah.
I find that we work really well together. Um, we do have one problem working together.
Which is,
Uh, we both have a strong tendency to overdo it.
oh, yes, I've
And
seen that.
there's an element where when every time you ping somebody at 11:30 at night, they respond within 5 minutes and say, "Oh yeah, I can take care of that." It is an unhealthy relationship.
This
It
is
was
true.
very
This is true.
effective. It is a large part of what enabled like the 2022, 2023 conferences to
Yeah,
happen.
right.
Um, but we are so happy. We're both getting better about this. We're cutting back. We're saying,
Creating
okay,
boundaries.
we have to make sure we have a big enough crew working on
Mhm.
this that all of this stuff can happen. And we have that now. Like
Yes,
the volunteer and organizing team for WordPress Accessibility Day is amazing.
I
And
agree.
they mean, the rest of us who have put in way too many hours early on can uh, sit back and put in a normal and reasonable number of hours instead.
Right, right. And so for those of you who heard those people who just heard you drop a couple names, so that would be Amber Hinds
And Bet
and Bet
Hannon.
Hannon, right,
Yeah.
who are both huge proponents of accessibility as well, and whose businesses also include accessibility all day, every day. So, so from that first one in 2020, which we didn't. I thought it was funny that 2020, like we should have had perfect vision of what was coming in the future, but nobody knew, right? Just because the year 2020
Yeah.
to today, it's been other than that 1 year that it was like, okay, let's regroup and figure out how this goes forward. Um, it's been an annual event, including this year, all online and a 24-hour event so that no matter where you are in the world, you can watch something live and you can be there interacting. It's all on Zoom, so you do have to register. It's not like you can just happen upon it on YouTube or something like that. You do have to be registered for it.
And
It
that's
will.
actually an interesting point.
Go
Like
ahead.
we had to really think about that. The first year it was all just streamable on YouTube, and I think that was also true the second year. We did ask for registrations the second year, but it was still all streamed to YouTube. Um, but ultimately, it was an accessibility decision.
Right.
And it's kind of this difficult balance. It's like I know people don't want to have to register for another thing and give their email away and all of that,
Sure.
but we wanted to add sign language.
Right.
And in order to have sign language, what we needed to be able to do was offer two synchronized screens that
Right.
people could have. Otherwise, what you have for ASL is very much it's kind of second class because you have just a tiny little window embedded in your screen. And
Right.
so, yeah, you can get the sign language if you're hard of hearing, but have amazing eyesight.
Right. Or
And,
blow it up
we
so
do,
that that's the only thing you
right.
see on your screen.
And
Yeah.
so we wanted to make sure that we could offer that. And really, Zoom was the only platform that really made that
hmm
work for
I
us.
love that.
Um,
And in addition to ASL, because not everybody who is a deaf person uses American Sign Language around the world, it also has
right.
live transcription so that there's more
Yes.
accurate than just voice text recognition being
Right.
used.
We've been working really hard on trying to make this as available to as many people as we possibly can.
Yeah.
It's kind of not very feasible to have sign language interpretation into multiple language of sign
Right.
language, and part of that is it starts to get really complicated if somebody needs to both know their flavor of sign language and English.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of
Yeah.
complexity. And
You,
once you have that many people, that many screens, we don't have a
Mhm.
production team. We're
Right.
still a volunteer-run organization.
Exactly.
But what we can offer is, like you said, we have the live captions, so that's always
hmm
being part of the event.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we have those captions corrected, and we've been working really hard on getting things translated.
Yes.
So actually, almost all of the 2023 talks are now translated into at least one language, and many of them are now in two.
hmm
Our widest availability is in Spanish and French, and those are the ones we've really been pushing for just for
hmm
global access,
Right.
since we had to prioritize something.
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, we've had a number translated into Hebrew. We've got a whole variety of translators,
I
and they've
love
been really
that.
great. Yeah,
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's interesting because you can't, we're not the United Nations where you can put on a headset and something's it might immediately translate it into your
yeah,
own language. I'm sure AI is going to get there someday, but it isn't there now through Zoom, for
no.
example. And would it be perfect anyway? Probably not. but I remember talking to somebody when this is back during 2021, I think. I spoke at WordCamp Taipei, which was online, and it was live, and I had to get up at be up at 3 in the morning because it's on the other side of the world from where I am. And somebody said, "Do you speak Mandarin?" And I said, "No, it's in English." And they're like, "Well, why is it in English?" I said, "Because so many people tune in. English is a language that a lot of people in WordPress speak, or at least have a basic understanding of. And so, although it isn't perfect, you do have to choose a language to present in. And the truth is that most of our presenters do speak English, and most of the receivers, people who are watching it, also at least understand enough English to be able to participate. And then we are translating it into other languages as well for
Right.
people to be able to have as part of our library, which I think is fantastic. Now, you did mention it's a nonprofit. But we do have sponsorships and we do open up for donations. So, I mean, I know a lot of the answers to the questions I'm asking you because I'm also on the organizing team. But for those people who don't, why are we getting all this money from other people if it's entirely volunteer led?
Well, the team that's running it is all volunteer led.
Yes.
But the fact is, we need a lot of services, and we are going to pay professional captioners to provide this captions, and we need to pay professional sign language interpreters to get the sign language. We're paying for Zoom events this year, which
Hmm.
is a much more expansive program, but it is giving us some very useful and needed features to be able to improve what we do. Um, we're hiring somebody to do our post-production editing of videos to just clean them up, make sure the ASL is properly synchronized with that. Um, there are a lot of miscellaneous costs in running an organization
Yes.
and making it work. We have to have a Google Workspace account. Oh, actually, we get that for free as a nonprofit. Some things we get benefits
Now
from.
we do though. We didn't, but we
Right.
weren't a
We didn't
nonprofit
used to. We did
forever.
have to
So
pay for it. Yes.
yeah.
But yeah, there's just all sorts of costs that come in. We pay our
There are.
speakers. I mean, that's one of the
Yes.
really key things is that we make a point of paying every speaker. We do offer them the option to donate that back to not to
Hmm.
us, but to some other organization.
Sure.
Uh, but to it was that was a really important thing to me, and that's
Hmm.
actually one of the really key reasons why we broke away from being a WordPress community organization.
Right.
Because within the WordPress community organization, it's mandatory that you not pay speakers. You're not
Correct.
allowed to pay your speakers. And that was kind of, for me, that was kind of a deal breaker.
Yeah. I
Uh,
think
be,
honoring people's time, it isn't just the
Mhm.
half hour or 45 minutes that they're on screen. There's so
No.
much prep time that goes into preparing a talk. And you and I have given talks, we know that firsthand.
Hmm.
So when you are, and we're not paying them nearly the amount that we could to cover all of their time, but we do give them money that says we value you and
Right.
we value your inputs here and we appreciate that you have become part of this day.
Yeah. And I think it's really important, particularly if you're trying to reach out to speakers who are themselves people with disabilities.
Hmm.
People with disabilities are massively underemployed.
Yes.
And that underemployment is the fault of employers. It's the fact
Hmm.
that people are not providing an accessible workspace. They're not providing a way for you to get to work, a way for you to get in the building, a way for you to be at your desk. They're not providing enough freedom if you simply can't remain seated in one place for 8 hours. Uh, the technological barriers to working when you're a person with a disability can be extraordinary and can change unpredictably
Hmm.
when the people who are responsible for procuring new versions of software aren't checking for accessibility, and suddenly now your payroll system is something you cannot log into.
Right. There's
And you're
so
like, well,
much.
I work in accounting at this business. I need to do this.
Yeah, exactly. And I work bifocals. I'll be 57 next. I'll actually be 57 on the day of the event, honestly.
Wow.
So it's like WP Accessibility Day is a lovely birthday gift this year. Thank you so much. Um, but as I get older, the fine tuning in my hearing is not what it was in my 20s. My vision isn't what it was in my 20s, which even then wasn't that great, to be honest. So I appreciate the things that we do that, when people think about accessibility, oftentimes they think of building a website that includes people who are blind. But
Mhm.
it's so much more than that. And accessibility, we talk about all the time, accessibility is for everyone. And to
Right,
have an accessible website doesn't just mean a screen reader can use it. It means somebody like me can see the script because it's not in a size 8 font in a light
right.
gray, for example, that there's contrast and that I can hear the things that are being said. I use captions all the time in movies and television now, and I mean, I guess I'm happy to see some of the things, but incredibly perplexed that they're describing sounds that I can't hear on my
Uh,
television, like dishes clanking, background, music. And I'm like, what dishes? What music? Because I can't hear that anymore. But I mean, I also don't blast the TV. So,
right,
those kinds of things are very helpful to every individual as we get older. And sometimes we want to be able to watch things really quietly, and having those visual cues and being able to read the dialogue makes a lot of sense.
right.
And so
Absolutely.
that's what we're bringing to all of the people who are attending WP Accessibility Day as also. So I did mention that it's on my birthday, but would you tell us exactly when it is and what time it starts? How's that for a
Absolutely.
segue?
That's a great segue. So we'll start with telling you when Michelle's birthday is.
That's right.
That's what's important here.
I'll
It's
share
not
my
really about the
Amazon wish list
event.
later. No, just kidding.
Yeah, yeah. Michelle takes donations.
For WP Accessibility Day.
Right, of course. Right.
Yeah,
Yes, of course. Absolutely. So, yeah, the event is happening October 15th and 16th. It will be starting at 1500 UTC or 10 a.m. Central Time, a time that was chosen largely because it's convenient to Amber and I.
that's right. Hey, it's got to start somewhere.
We
May it
made
must
that
be
choice.
convenient for you all. That's right.
Exactly. I think it's very important that the people who are running it be awake and
At their
able to
best.
function at the time that it starts. I think that is actually a meaningful thing
100%
to do.
agree with you. Absolutely. How much does it
Uh,
cost to attend?
it does not cost anything at all to attend. You do need to register, and at that time, you can make the choice to make a donation. There's an option to do a $10 donation, an option to do a $50 donation, where you will get a gift of a WordPress Accessibility Day t-shirt. Um, or you can also become a micro sponsor for $150 in the registration process. I believe we now this year also added a donate whatever you want
Oh,
amount
nice.
if you just feel
Mhm.
like it.
Nice.
Because I mean,
Why
it doesn't
not?
have to be $10. You can donate $5, whatever.
Hmm.
It all is helpful. It all helps keep the organization running. It helps keep us
Yeah,
secure in case, uh, you know, companies sometimes have to change their budgets. They might not be able to sponsor next year. And if we
right.
suddenly lose a major sponsor, all those donations will be extremely beneficial to make sure next year's event
Yes,
can still happen. That's
absolutely.
really a big part of our fundraising is it's not about making sure we pay for this year's event. It's about saying,
Hmm.
okay, worst case scenario, can we put on next year's event?
Yes, absolutely. And right now the answer is most likely.
I think so. Yep,
I think
most
so
likely.
too. Now, tell us who is our keynote this year. Pretty exciting.
So our keynote this year is Vitaly Friedman, the founder of Smashing Magazine. He's going to be giving a great talk about user experience and design and how they relate to accessibility. Smashing Magazine has published a lot about accessibility, so I think this is going to be really fascinating. Um,
I do too.
and I think it's a really great way to just kind of kick things off. So I think I'm really looking forward to seeing that talk.
Me
There's a
too.
lot of interesting talks. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
always looking forward to seeing the talks. I never will go to all of them live because
It's 24 hours.
I'm not going to stay up for 24 hours. That is a thing. I believe we had an earlier conversation about things we used to do in our 20s.
Yes, same. Actually, same.
That kind of fits into that little niche.
Yeah,
But lots of great talks about design and typography, readability, some great things about uh, some of the impact that geographical differences have, like just the fact of, the entire global South has much more limited access to just internet devices. What does that mean for accessibility? What does that mean when you're
right.
talking about, uh, what is bandwidth? mean for accessibility. And that
Mhm.
can be something that people don't think about. They're like,
Yeah.
okay, we made sure all of the colors are right, and we've got this JavaScript library that makes sure that all of this stuff works. Unfortunately, that JavaScript library is 14 megabytes
Right.
unnecessarily, and
And your computer will come to a screeching halt while you try to access it.
exactly. Ah.
I'm also excited because Joe Simpson Jr. this year is also going to be
hmm
talking about physical accessibility
Yeah.
in spaces, which you know from being my friend that I have had issues with as a mobility impaired person accessing events and conferences
hmm
and even some of what you expect to be the most accessible events still will have some issues where I can't get into a door or the green room is upstairs, but there's no elevator. So me as a speaker
Yeah.
doesn't have access to those kinds of things. And can I roll with it? No, no pun intended, but yes, I can. Do you see what I did there?
I did see that. Yeah.
It was
Oh,
unintentional, but it came through okay. Uh, but is it the best experience? And just because somebody who's a veteran in the field here can, just kind of roll with the punches, so to speak, doesn't mean that it's acceptable and doesn't mean it's acceptable for everyone. And having been somebody who's long term in the community who can access people easier doesn't mean that it's a good experience for somebody who has mobility impairment coming in for their first or second time either. So I'm really happy to see Joe
yeah.
talking about some of the changes that's been made
Yeah.
within WordPress for that. So that's
Yeah.
kind of
I think
exciting.
that'll be great.
I do too.
And yeah, I do think one of the things that it's easy for people to forget is that when people aren't complaining, it's easy to take that as they are satisfied.
Correct.
And that's not the same thing. And especially for people with disabilities, resignation to inadequacy is a common reaction because
Hmm.
because it is so ubiquitous. You know, you're just dealing constantly in like in your case with awkward rises that you're like, well, okay, great, there's a door, it's wide enough, but there's a 2 inch rise here, and
Yes.
now I'm just kind of screwed. And
Right.
things that people don't anticipate, and you're just, but you expect it because it is ubiquitous, it's everywhere.
Hmm.
People with disabilities on the web, people who are using a screen reader, yeah, encountering a button that doesn't have a label, yeah, that's totally
Yeah.
routine. That's nothing, there's no surprises there. So the reaction isn't frequently, I'm going to immediately write a complaint and send them an email. It's just like, another one of those. I wonder what it does. I guess I'll find out, whatever.
Right. Yeah. No, for sure.
Um,
And it's also not only just the resignation to it, but sometimes there's fear of retaliation.
oh,
So
absolutely.
I've been in places where I'm the loud voice saying I can't access, and there are other people in wheelchairs, but because of who they work for, are afraid to raise their voice because they don't want to be the person within their organization that's complaining.
Right.
I don't see it as a complaint. I see it as standing up for, no pun intended again. Um, I'm just walking into all of them today for what I should have access to. And I'm talking about physical spaces. The same is true of our digital spaces
hmm
for people who have other disabilities. And whether those are situational, temporary, or permanent disabilities,
Absolutely.
everybody. We talk sometimes about you broke your arm. So now you understand what it's like to try to do one-handed keyboarding. Or
Yep.
you're a young parent and you're holding a baby and trying to work at the same time. There are a lot of reasons that people experience even temporary um, needs for accessibility online.
And I will say, actually, people with temporary disabilities can be incredibly useful.
Absolutely.
Um, and that it has a lot to do with the fact that they are much more likely to have the spoons to complain
I
because
love
they
that.
haven't been dealing with it every day for the last 50 years. For
Right.
them, it's a new thing, and they're like, oh, this sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bitch about it. And you know what?
Right.
That is extremely valuable because that is one of the biggest problems is people
Yeah.
getting just worn out.
Mm-hmm.
You reach the point where like, I don't have the energy to complain about this
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this and you're like, what do spoons have to do with it? Look up spoon theory, I beg of you.
Yes, it is very relevant.
It is very relevant. Absolutely. So we talked about how much it costs. We talked about when it is. We talked about it being 24 hours. We mentioned the t-shirt. Now, I love that there's a little bit of tongue in cheek in last year's t-shirt and this year's t-shirt. Last year's t-shirt had a frame, a border around the logo, and it said it's a feature, not a bug, meaning the focus feature that
Right.
sometimes people have complained about. Like, why is this appearing when I'm tabbing through? It's a feature, not a bug. This year's t-shirt I love because on the front of it is WPAD in finger spelling, American Sign Language, finger spelling. And then on the back, which is also very tongue-in-cheek, we have the alt text for the front of the shirt, which I
Right.
just think is delightful.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to come up with that design this year. It's always interesting. You never know what you're going to land on.
Yeah,
And it's a fun thing about doing the t-shirt is that it's a very visible representation and it's something that people can actually hold on to and see
yeah,
uh, you know, and it's just honestly, it's a fun thing for the organizing team to do and to
yeah,
get out of this is like we end up having a t-shirt. It's like, yay, this is fun.
it is.
Um,
And something
it's
fun to wear.
important for us as an organizing team to be able to have fun with it and to be able to
Yes.
say, yes, this is serious work, this is important work, but if we're taking ourselves too seriously in the process and not having fun, then we need to be paid.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the
Exactly.
thing. We're all doing this for as volunteers. And
Yeah.
if you're doing volunteer work, it has to be enjoyable. So we need
Yes.
to make sure that for everybody who's participating, it's a good experience. Um,
Absolutely. So our call for volunteers, call for speakers, all of that is closed, but the call for translators remains open
and it's
24/7,
open at all times.
365. Yes.
Yep,
So if somebody has a fluency in another language and would like to volunteer to translate from English to whatever that other language is, they can feel free. And we do actually, I say volunteer, but we do pay our translators as well,
we do.
because that is
So
arduous work.
specifically at this point, we're paying for Spanish and French translations.
Yes. Hmm.
We're not paying all translators, and that was a hard choice.
Thank you for that.
But
Yeah.
it was really about we wanted to try and reach the point where we could get a complete set of the talks in
Yes.
two languages, and then everything else is just kind of a bonus. And
Hmm.
it's been a difficult decision. It's hard to decide who you pay and
Yeah.
who you don't. And we might reassess that. Who
Hmm.
knows?
Yeah.
Because every year you ultimately we have to look at our finances post-event and how much after expenses and be like, okay,
Yes.
how are we in the black? How far in the black are we? What is something new we can take on as an expense for next year? I mean, that is
Right.
basically literally what we do at the end of every year. It's like, okay, we are in the
Yeah.
black, we are not in the black, what are we able
Right.
to do? I mean, that's one of the reasons we were willing to go to Zoom events this year,
Hmm.
is we were sufficiently flush that we were like,
Yes.
okay, we can afford to pay for this higher level of service and take advantage of some of the things that it provides for us.
Absolutely.
The main thing that it provides for us, by the way, is that we don't have to try and wrestle with a single 24-hour nonstop stream.
Hmm.
Um, Everybody can register for one event and then have access to each individual 1 hour stream. Whereas before, we had to try and do it all as one stream.
Yeah.
And let's just say, while Zoom theoretically can run for 24 hours straight, in practice, it got pretty weird. And we did have to shut it down and restart the stream. And
Yeah.
that's nasty because that means now you
Right.
have to like send out an emergency email to all attendees, and this is the new link, and now you have to re-come to
Hmm.
this one. And
Some of them you don't get back because they don't see the
yeah,
email and they assume it
yep.
broke and all of those
You
things.
always
So,
have to assume that some of those emails just won't be received, and so you're
right.
promoting it everywhere you can, but it's just messy, and we
Yeah.
just don't want to have to do that. So
Absolutely.
that is something that should just not be a problem this year because we're not trying to wrestle with this
Yeah.
continuous, incredibly long session.
And our sponsorship dollars and our donations are what is allowing that to take place. So
Yes, it
thank you to
is.
everybody who has contributed. As you said, you can still make a donation. You can still sign up as a micro sponsor and contribute in those ways. Micro sponsorship does have some benefits to it. I think you get a persistent link and logo on the website, for example, and shows that you are in support of this whole event. So, and micro sponsorship, I believe, do you remember how much that is? I want to say it's
It's
150,
150. Yep.
150 US dollars. That's correct. Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought you had said earlier. And then, I don't know, my brain just went, I don't remember. So,
Well, and I'll just tell you that if we were to change that next year, I will guaranteed to tell you the wrong number.
yeah, likewise, likewise. So, October 15th at 12, what did you say, 12 UTC? No, 2.
It's 10
I already
a.m.
forgot.
Central Time, 1500 UTC.
1500 UTC. Thank you. I coming back from Europe last week. All of my plane tickets were in 24-hour clock time. I was constantly having to subtract 12 to remember what time it was at home and make sure I didn't miss my flight from the airport. Um, I am not used to that 24-hour clock, but I'm learning. So there we go. That's all of the information. Anything else you'd like to add before we wrap things up for today?
No, I think I'm just happy to do this, happy to chat. It's nice to catch up, and I'm really
Always.
looking forward to this year's WP Accessibility Day.
Likewise, very much so. So you heard it, everybody. Be there October 15th at 1500 UTC, 10 a.m. Central Time, which is 11 a.m. on the East Coast where I am. See, I can do the math once in a while.
Yay, math.
It's all good. And if you're interested in finding out more, of course have this all in the show notes, but it is 2025.wpaccessibility.day. And all of the links to register and support and all of the things, including our schedule, are right there. So thank you for joining me today, Joe. I appreciate you and your ability to talk about all things all the time, especially off the cuff, because I didn't give you any questions in advance. It's just a conversation.
Well,
So
thanks for
thank you for
having
being
me.
here.
Yep,
My
delighted.
pleasure. Fantastic. We'll see everybody at WP Accessibility Day, and we'll see you all in the next episode of the Post Status Cash Up. Thanks so much for being here.